what we are seeing here is the very unfortunate news here that another MV-22 Bravo Osprey has gone down, and this has taken the lives of many people. We're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into the history and why this is not shocking, sadly, but also why it still is happening in some justification. But first off, I want to say, my condolences to the family that have dealt with this. The first article here, it's by NPR. It says 3 U.S. Marines killed, 20 injured in an aircraft crash in Australia, officials say. There are many people that have discussed about operations that take place in this region, obviously to prepare if anything were to happen in South China Sea, obviously working with our counterparts and things like that. So that's why these types of missions are vitally important in getting people over there to train and, interconnect what we would do if there was a wartime scenario. So that's why this is an important evolution. But let's get to the details here. It's a Canberra, Australia, a United States Marine Corps aircraft carrying troops crashed on a North Australian island Sunday, killing 3 Marines and injuring 20, a multi-nation exercise, officials said. 3 had been confirmed dead on Melville Island, and 5 on the 23 on board were flown in serious condition 80 kilometers or 50 miles to the mainland city of Darwin for hospital treatment after the Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft crashed around 9:30 a.m., a statement from the Marine said. What is scary about this is that they were not actually, from what they're saying here, on the main island that they were at. So even if you had a corpsman or some kind of medical asset, right, like they were not near things that they needed to be near. And I hope that whatever the plan was, if something like this happened, obviously during any planning, training evolutions that are going to occur, you have letters of intent, and you have your line out things of what you need. They call them an Annex Q in order to get people to those resources. So I'm hoping that wouldn't be a barrier to these other 20 people being able to survive, and hopefully they're in good condition. They say recovery efforts are ongoing. The statement said, adding the cause of the crash was under investigation, and a U.S. military official reported to Australian air traffic controllers a quotations significant fire in the vicinity of the crash site, end quotation, according to an audio recording of the conversation broadcast by 9 News television. Now, of those 20, they do discuss some of the conditions that are with them as far as that goes, just to give some basics here, but they say this. They say some were critically injured and were being triaged on arrival at Darwin Airport, she said. Quotations, we acknowledge that this is a terrible accident, file said, and that, quotations, the Northern Territory government stands by to offer whatever assistance is required. It sounds like this was the final exercise that they're talking about, because they deemed that it was during the Predator's run, which involved the military of the U.S., Australia, Indonesia, Philippines, and East Timor. It does not look like any of these other countries have had any, casualties have gone with this. It's only been U.S. casualties, as it was just this one aircraft. They say the quotations, the initial report suggests that the incident involves just U.S. Defense Force personnel. Albanese said, our forces as a government and as the Department of Defense is very much on incident response and on making sure that every support and assistance is given at this difficult time. This is sadly not a thing that we have never heard before, and this is, if you ever paid attention to the news, this has been a continuous issue that people say that these aircraft are unsafe and that people are saying they do not trust them. I'll tell you that I've met people that are like, I want to go ride one of these, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't trust many of these because I paid attention to the news. And this is just sad that there's even on Wikipedia an entire chronicle outlining of every single time one of these has gone down. And you can see even as early as June of 1991, but we could go back to when the Marine Corps started even testing this, which was noted in December of 2000, which they had one go down in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which took the lives of 4 people. And then, as you can see, March 2006, April 2010, April 2012, June 2012, May 2015, December 2016, August 2017, September 2017, March 2022, June 2022, and August 2023. How many times does this aircraft have to go down for us to say it is not a safe, effective tool? But here is the issue. The capabilities of this is, I would say, is very much like the Swiss Army knife of aircraft that are out there that many people are like, why are we still using this? Okay, let's talk about some of the capabilities here. First off, we've got to talk about vertical takeoff and landing, because obviously if you don't need to go off of a runway, you can just go straight up. That would be amazing, because then you're not worried about airships being taken out during some kind of battle, and you're not worried about having to repair those, as well as you're really just needing the area at which it needs to come down and land at. The next thing that I'll tell you about is obviously there are finite spaces that are available on site of an aircraft carrier, right? And we do say that the aircraft carrier is this ability to be a mobile airport per se, but however, that is great, but you also need to store these things. So if you notice that there are the rotors that are able to tilt and the blades are able to flip back and kind of make this like this compact, like I like to look at it as if it were like some kind of crazy looking bug, but as these parts are able to move and, you know, rotate around and more complex that they get, I can only imagine from an engineering perspective how difficult it would be to make sure it can still do all of the normal functions that you would want this to be able to do while considering space. And this aircraft has been very controversial, not just because of the fact that it does all these things and we want it to do that, not because of all these crashes, but because the U.S. military, the Department of Defense, has already put so much money into this that has made it almost like, do we keep going forward with it, even though we're having these issues? Because the research and development and what's coming through the pipe in order to make sure it's even to the stage it's at today, that has been very controversial. And that's because you can look back at the numbers here and you're going to say, wow, no wonder why we're still using this aircraft. So they say that back in 1986, the budget for research and development was $2.5 billion, and that by 1988, that this has increased to $30 billion. Then by 2008, the U.S. had spent $27 billion, and another $27.2 billion was required for planned production numbers. What this means is that the capability of this have been very judgmental. The cost of this has been very judgmental. The loss of lives because of this has been very judgmental. There is a point where I do wonder if the Department of Defense is going to scrap this as one of those things that, you know, we need to look at the next iteration of this, or are we going to stay with this because we have such a fear, I guess you could say, of what China could do, that these would be very important and critical to allow us to do that. And I have to say, is it going to be worth a new level of research and development? We looked at, for example, the Navy just spent a ton of money on the littoral combat ships, which people are asking what they're going to do about those, as that was billions of dollars just thrown to the wind that we're not really going to be utilizing anymore, and we're going back to destroyers. And then you look at the MV-22 and they're like, is this really worth it? Do we need to research and develop something else? Because this is billions of dollars just being thrown at the wind as well. So obviously we need to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar, but we also need to protect the country and what is at the best benefit of that as well. Again, this video is to just kind of do the condolences to the family, talk about some of the controversies that have gone with it before, and kind of not forget those people that have lost their lives as well. Let me know what you guys think about the MV-22. Do you think we should continue forward with this, reassess it again, as we know that it was supposed to die before, but it's now come back? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you like what I cover on the channel, hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.